I'm Ric Edelman. Every parent knows how much fun it is talking to kids about cleaning their room. Yeah, right. Imagine, though, talking with your kids about their retirement, as though that'll work. And are you saving enough for your retirement? And what is convergence? And how does it impact your personal finances? Stay tuned for all these questions and much more on this edition of The Truth About Money.
This program is funded in part by TD Ameritrade. At TD Ameritrade, we support investors and independent registered investment advisors every day, providing access to tools, research, and educational resources that help you pursue your goals with confidence.
I'm Ed Burns. I've spent a lot of time around cameras. However, I've never actually swallowed one before. Till now. It's a camera the size of a pill that lets your doctor see inside of you. That's kind of awesome.
Technology is evolving. We believe the way to invest should evolve as well. A prospectus is available at 1-800-iShares, which includes investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information that you should read and consider carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal.
I'm Ric Edelman. How can you get young adults to think about retirement? To me, the answer is just dollars and cents.
Hi, Rick. My name is Bob, and my question to you today is, how much thought do you think young people are giving about the whole idea of retirement and saving for retirement? Because I have 2 young daughters, and I'm trying to coach them about how to start early. And one, I think, is taking my advice, and the other one, not so much. So what do you have to say about that?
I think your suspicion is accurate. I don't believe that most young people in their teens and 20s are paying much, if any, attention to the issues of retirement planning. I mean, let's face it, we know that a typical 20-year-old, their definition of the long term is Friday. So we have to recognize that education is the key. And you're doing a great job parenting by talking about this with them, to helping your kids understand the vital importance of saving for their future. Because I know what you're thinking. You wish you had started when you were their age. And you're determined to have them have a better life than you have had. No better way than education, communication. But you're also discovering something else. Human nature. People are who they are. And why is it that one child grows up to be fiscally responsible, the other one a spendthrift? There's not a lot you can do to change their personalities, but perhaps there are things you can do to change their behaviors. You need to create a reward system, perhaps a methodology of the combination of carrot and stick. Look what happens to you if you don't do X, but look what happens if you do Z. And by giving them a constant reinforcement of both reward and penalty, you can help guide those who need the push to do a better job than they otherwise would on their own. Is this fair? Is it the way it ought to be? Probably not, but since when did fair have anything to do with raising children? We go coast to coast to ask just one question, Celebrity Edition. Does money represent power in show business?
I think so, yeah. Especially studios, I mean, they have a lot of power and a lot of money. So they make things that they want to make. We make things that they want to make. So in the early part of the business, I mean, many years ago, when you made $500 a week, that was big money. It's pretty big money now, actually. I don't know of anybody who is really a performer, in my circle anyway, that is independently wealthy. A lot of people are. Good friends of mine are Bob Newhart and Don Rickles. Both of them are extremely wealthy. They told me to say that.
Money can be power, absolutely. If you have somebody who has a lot of money and wants to make a movie, they can get it made. They can also pay top dollar for a top screenwriter. They can go to producers who have experience, and that will create a buzz in the business. And then you get contact with studio heads or studio casting directors, and you've got a movie. So money is very important for making movies. Movies now cost hundreds of millions of dollars sometimes. One of the greatest films ever made, The Bridge on the River Kwai, was made for $7 million in 1957. Those days are over. That's the lunch money on a Spielberg movie.
Are you saving enough for retirement? That's a question I was asked at a recent seminar.
Hello, I'm 35 years old and I've been contributing to my 401k since I started working full-time in my early 20s. So far, I've amassed a value of around $200,000 and I'm contributing about $10K a year. How do I know if I'm on track and if that's enough?
That's a great question. First of all, congratulations. 35 years old
Thank you.
with a couple of $100,000. Everybody else in the room is really angry with you.
Sorry.
We tend to be focusing on our effort to save, and we tend not to be focusing on, am I saving enough? Am I saving in the right places? So it's important that we tackle those two issues. I'll give you two answers to the question. First is to meet with a financial advisor who can examine your goals. Why are you saving? What is the point of it? And how far away is that goal? How much will that goal cost? And then we can determine between the money you've already saved and the money you're adding to your savings, is all of that enough to reach the goal by the time you want to reach it? So that's what the financial planning process is all about. Simple and easy for folks like us. We do it all the time. And we'll be able to tell you exactly if you're saving enough. And they will tell you that, no, you're not. Just, no matter how much you're saving, you're not saving enough. It's kind of that simple. For most people, the harsh reality that however much you're saving, you need to save more. I will tell you that generally, the number is about 25 to 30% of your income is how much you need to save. 25 to 30%. Are you all demoralized? It's not as horrific as it sounds, and here's why. You're already saving, in your case, you said 10% of your pay. Is that right?
No, 10K a year.
10K. What percentage of your pay is going into your 401k?
About 8%.
About 8%.
And
So
that includes the employer match.
that does include. Okay, so you got 8% of your pay right there toward the 30% I said you needed to do. So there's 8 of it right there. You also are contributing to Social Security. 15% of your pay, roughly, is going to Social Security. Now you're saying, wait a minute, I don't contribute 15% to Social Security. You're saying I only contribute about 7.5. Yeah, but so does your boss. So between your contributions and your boss's, that's another 15%. So now you're at 23. So you're already pretty darn close to the 25 to 30 that I said you need to do. So it's not as horrible as it sounds. So we find that many people are really able to save a little bit more to get where they really need to get in order to be truly on track. What number is it specifically? A true financial advisor will be able to calculate that number. But I would say you're in really good shape. You're well ahead of the curve. And keep doing what you're doing, you're going to be fine. I would want to make sure that we're investing that money in the right place, because there's a big difference between having the money grow at 2% a year versus 7% a year versus 10% a year over 30-year working career. So talk with a financial advisor about those two things, but keep on doing what you're doing. You're doing the hard part.
Thank you.
Hi, Rick. My name's Chad. How much does a financial planning advisor charge? Like, is it a percentage, flat fee, monthly cost?
All the above, some of the above. There are a couple of different ways that advisors get compensated. And you're asking a great question. It should be one of the first questions you ask any advisor. There are basically 2 different ways. One is commission, where the advisor is selling you products, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, real estate investment trusts, MLPs. I mean, Wall Street manufactures lots of different products, and there are a lot of people who make a living selling those products for commission to consumers and investors. So you want to know, how do you get paid? And one of those ways is commission. The problem with commission is that it creates the potential for a conflict of interest. Why did he tell me to buy that? Did he tell me to buy it because it's in my best interest, or because it's in his best interest? Because he made a commission selling it to me. If I didn't buy it, he didn't make any money. Consumers worry about that conflict of interest, and that's why many consumers prefer to go to a fee-based advisor. This is the way that many advisors operate, where they charge you not commissions, but instead a fee. Now, the fee may be an hourly fee. It may be a flat rate. It might be a fee that is based on how much you invest. It might be based on the value of your account. So as your account grows in value, the fee goes up. And as the account falls in value, the fee goes down. A lot of people like that idea because it puts them on the same side of the table as the advisor. You want your account value to go up, so does your advisor, because the fee will go up with the account value, and you're both happy. A lot of people say, I want us both to be happy or both to be unhappy, but I don't want the guy to make money if I'm not making money. So you need to decide whether you're going to hire an advisor who charges you commissions or charges you a fee. And if it's a fee, what kind of a fee is it and how much will it cost? And the interesting thing is, you're not going to know if the answer he gives you is a good answer or not until you comparison shop. So you need to interview 2 or 3 or 4 advisors, asking all of them that question so that you can compare their answers to decide whose answer you like best. And I'll take it one step further. When you ask the advisor, how are you compensated, there's another question you must also ask. How much am I going to pay in total, all in? You see, if I only ask you, how are you paid, you might tell me, oh, I get paid 1%. But what I'm not telling you is how much you will also pay for the investments I told you to buy. Even though I'm not earning commissions on them, you might still be paying for them. So it's not enough to know how much the advisor earns. You also need to know what is the total cost you're going to pay between the advisor's cost and the investments cost themselves. And that way you'll know for sure.
How often do married couples retire at about the same time? 20% of the time? 40%? 60%? Or 80% of the time? We'll be back with the answer right after this.
What is convergence, and what does it have to do with technology and economics? Analyst Kathryn Myronuk tells us in this segment.
Convergence, to start off with, convergence is how do you think about where new technologies are coming from, where new fields of science are coming from. They come at the intersections of multiple fields. And the synthesist is a person who's a cross-pollinator who goes from field to field and person to person, listening to their problems. And we're looking at what are the technologies, what are the tools that people will have in the future. In 3 years and in 5 years, what types of tools will be made available?
So how does someone dealing with a specific discipline recognize that what they're doing could have application in a completely unrelated field?
They need to get together with other people. You know, you're an astronomer and you're looking for some new technology to help analyze pictures of the galaxy. You have your set of tools, but if you put that data out there and there's some biochemist who's saying, look, what you're doing to try to find pictures of the galaxy is also what we're doing to try to find a particular mutation, or to try to, a doctor might say, oh, this is how we're trying to find a particular pathogen. And you brainstorm together, you might be able to say, the tools that I have here sound like they might be applicable to you. Let's work together on this.
So that suggests that when you're getting your education, you really need to broaden your horizons.
Right, because to be able to do this well, everybody's going to be an expert in a field or two, but you're going to be a beginner in every other field. The smartest people in the world aren't the people working for you. So how can you bring in other people's ideas unless you go out and ask for help?
So the notion of convergence and synergism is designed to further accelerate exponentially the development of new technologies.
Yes, the development of new technologies and also the development of new solutions to our global grand challenges. Because if you've been thinking about clean water, or if you're thinking about how do we stop pandemics, we've been working on these for a number of decades, and some of these problems seem insurmountable. But now we're in a new world where data can be collected even in a very remote area and sent off to people who can do the research. You don't have to do the research right there. You can send it off to the cloud. If you sit down and think about how much your computer has changed in the past few years, if you look at your cell phone from 10 years ago and what it's like then and what it's like today, that can give you a clue that if you're reading about a potential new breakthrough technology in medicine, or if some people are saying that a new technology is going to take over the world, look at what you know and see, well, is it the same?
Which suggests that the future is not only going to be pretty exciting, but here sooner than we think.
Yes.
Kathryn, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
How often do married couples retire at about the same time? The answer is A, 20% of the time.
Saving for retirement is the best thing you can do for your future. But you also have to consider how to save, where to invest, and what problems can come up down the road. These are the kinds of issues I help people solve every week. We've got James. He's in Florida. James, welcome to the program.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I've been dollar cost averaging into my retirement account into a total U.S. stock market index fund for a number of years, and now we're at the point where what I'm contributing annually is only about 5% of what's in there. And I've read a lot of books, including 2 of yours, and I've been thinking about diversifying over multiple asset classes, but I wasn't sure if I should do that yet. I'm still about 20 years away from retirement.
Great question. And in fact, I'm going to give James the applause of the day. You're doing everything right. He's dollar cost averaging, which means he's saving on a regular monthly basis. He's doing that 100% into stocks, which is the ideal asset class for dollar cost averaging. He's recognizing that his account balance has grown so much that the monthly contributions represent a very small fraction, which means he's got a lot of eggs in one basket at this point, all in stocks. Even though he's still far from retirement, he's getting the advice of what should he do different before he goes and does it.
Yeah.
Applause of the day for that. So Anderson, what's his answer?
Well, I think that he's recognized that he's got the issue of he's got a lot of volatility potentially with this asset that he can't effectively purchase if the market's down. So adding some additional asset classes to diversify out may be beneficial in the event he can take advantage of rebalancing if the markets do fluctuate quite a bit. If he's not going to be able to do the rebalance, or if you're not going to have the time to do the rebalance and you're just not going to pay attention to it, then I would say leave it as it is.
But at what age, and I throw this to both of you guys, see if we're in complete agreement on this, James is 20 years to retirement, and he's 100% in stocks. So how many years is it when you start to introduce non-stocks to the portfolio?
I would say 10 years,
yeah,
off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, again, I think it comes down to your tolerance for risk. How comfortable are you if you've got $500,000 in your account, watching it drop 50%? If you can't tolerate that kind of loss, which we saw in 2008, then perhaps you do need to introduce some alternative asset classes sooner than 10 years.
Well, I think absolutely that matters. The other thing that really helps here, guys, is having the retirement picture. Because when you do the retirement projection and you show it and you say, hey, James, this is what it's going to look like for you and your wife and your family, if it's showing great shape and he's saying, wow, this is all the income I'm desiring, I'm in good shape, he might make the decision to lower risk faster. And so to lessen stocks before Ric's 10 years, and it might be different based on what the retirement picture looks like.
He might need to wait longer.
I hope for a market crash so I can buy stuff cheap.
Well, you're absolutely right. However, that market crash won't do you an awful lot of good because all of your money is currently in stocks. The amount of money you'll add in the event of a decline isn't as much as what you'd lose from the decline itself due to your current position.
Which argues for potentially adding in some alternative asset classes now, which would benefit in a market crash.
And that is what we would generally do. So even though we are bullish on the future and we have strong stomachs, something may change in your life. You may have an adverse health issue, marital issue, job issue, which may cause you the need for money. We wouldn't want any of those things to occur at the very moment that a market crash occurs. So it is more prudent to reduce your equity exposure now. Even though it might not be the most profitable course of action, it is, I believe, a prudent course of action.
Okay, thanks very much.
Most comedians don't have much in the bank, but these comedians sure bank a lot of laughs.
And I was always stressed, man. It was like college, too, man. College will prepare you to be broke. I spent 9 years working on an undergrad degree and a master's degree, and I was an actor on top of it, which is just a long way of saying I like ramen noodles. You know what I mean? You should have seen my cabin. My cabin is like chock full of ramen noodles, canned goods, man, bottled water. It looked like a bomb shelter in there, man. I was like, my friends were like, what are you, like, getting ready for war? I'm like, no, class, dude, class. Getting ready for class. It's all good, man. I was all stressed when I was dating my girl. I'm old-fashioned. I was paying for everything, man. I was like, it was stressful, too. It's so funny, because, like, when you're, like, worried about money all the time, like, you describe the dates differently than your girl. My girl would be on the phone with her friends, be like, oh, it was so romantic. We went to this restaurant. We had this almond-crusted salmon with creme brulee. It was so wonderful. I'm on the other phone. I'm like, yeah, she had the $35 fish, some $10 French pudding thing, and then I had the $15 chicken, which delicious, by the way, you know.
Aging is bad if you're vain, man, because I'm vain, man, and I started getting like these gray hairs, right? So I shaved my head, but you could still see them, right? So now I'm thinking of dyeing my hair, you know, but I don't want to be that guy. You know what my wife said to me? She goes, you're being silly. Gray hair's distinguished. Guys, you ever hear that crap? Gray hair on a guy is distinguished. Guys, look at me. That's partially true. Gray hair on a guy is distinguished if you were rich and successful. All right? If you were poor and anonymous, it is just plain pathetic.
If you could ask a financial planner just one question, what would it be? Here's one I hear all the time. What is the worst piece of financial advice you've ever heard?
I think it's often has to do with the hot topic. So buy gold or buy real estate, whatever the latest infomercial is on television, that seems to reach the masses. And then the common investor wants to ride the coattails of this next wave, which doesn't end well.
I don't know if it's the all-time worst piece of advice, but it's a very common worst piece of advice, and that is to take your 401k and roll it into a tax-deferred annuity. It's redundant, it's unnecessary, and oftentimes you're taking an asset that you're most often going to need at that moment in retirement and making it illiquid at the time you need it most. It becomes illiquid due to the surrender charges and the period of time of 5, 7, 10 years before you can really gain access to that money.
Picture yourself stuck in traffic. Are you tense? In this edition of The Other Side of Money, my wife and business partner, Jean, says this is the perfect time to pull into life's slow lane.
So what do we learn about ourselves when we're behind the wheel? I think one thing I'd like to say is that we just have to be conscious of ourselves when we get into our car. Whatever's happening in our life, we are bringing those emotions with us behind the wheel. If we're running late, we're stressed out, the kids are screaming in the back, I just had a huge fight with somebody, all that emotion is sitting on that wheel between these two hands. Let's just see if we can shift a little bit and realize that what these emotions that we're bringing into the car. Let's talk about 3 maybe. Patience, cooperation, tolerance. Having patience. You know what? We're gonna get there when we get there. You know, if we know that there's always traffic wherever we're traveling, it's about giving ourselves that extra 15 or 30 minutes so that we have the time to get to where we need to be. The other piece is cooperation. You know, I think if everybody just kind of agreed that we're going to let 1 or 2 cars in ahead of us, then everything would just flow a little bit better. And then some tolerance. You know, we're all merging together, converging together at one time because we need to get somewhere. And just having a little tolerance for others. Traffic is the ultimate metaphor for life. Kindness, patience, tolerance, cooperation. It's all pieces of how we need to be in our day, and especially so behind the wheel.
Thanks, Jean, for reminding us that this TV show is more personal than finance. And that's our show for today. I'm Ric Edelman for The Truth About Money. See you next time. To learn more about the topics we discussed on this episode and a chance to ask your questions, visit our website at truthaboutmoneytv.com. And stay connected by liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter.